Hello, and welcome to Outer Spaces, a podcast dedicated to empowering designers and contractors in the outdoor living space. Through this show, I hope to create a powerful resource for you, someone who is trying to grow their company but might not have all the tools and processes to do so. On Outer Spaces, we're passionate about breaking the chains of small mindsets and helping contractors just like you take control of their businesses and their lives. My name is Joshua Gillow, and through my 25 years of dirt under the nails experience, I look forward to sharing tips, strategies, and other contractor success stories here on the Outer Spaces podcast. Now, let's get on with the show. Hello, and welcome back to the Outer Spaces podcast. This is your host, Joshua Gillow, and my guest today is a 3-time best-selling author and was named the top motivational speaker in 2022 in Yahoo Finance. He's a speaker, a founder, and a CEO of Common Goal, which I'm sure we'll talk more about here in the episode. He uses the STEP system, and he's able to lead clients through their trauma. Once they make it through, that is where their limitless potential lies. He's been featured in Brains Media, Sway, and Authority Magazine. Nick Prefontaine, welcome to the show.
Joshua, I've been looking forward to this since I saw it on my calendar a few weeks back, so I'm looking forward to diving in and getting this conversation started.
Absolutely, for sure, man. You've got quite the bio here, and I'd love to get into, one thing you mentioned that I noticed when I was doing some research on you is you say, I inspire and lead you through your trauma. And that really hit me because I know I've heard so many, men and women in our industry and business owners that have gone through trauma in their lives, and sometimes they get defined by it. They're held back by it. It becomes their identity. It becomes the reason why they can't do the thing that they want to do, or they use it as an excuse that, man, this happened to me, so I can never be this. And I wanted to talk deeper into this with you is, how do traumas hold us back, and how do you help people and lead them through their traumas? And I think that's probably best told by telling your story first and kind of giving us a sense of who you are and how you got to where you are.
Sure, yeah, happy to. And one quick thing I find is that, and this is at least my own experience, that when you're getting started in business and when you're just trying to start a new business, it could be a trauma, life challenge, or it's starting a new business like you and I have talked about offline. But when you're doing that, it's almost like you don't want anyone to know like that anything serious happened to you. And it's actually the farthest thing from the truth, because once a mentor reflected back to me that I should be sharing my story with people, the world of potential and possibilities opened up for me. So,
love that.
Yeah, get started. Everyone always asks me how I got started, and it always goes back to that fateful day back in 2003. I was at ski club with my friends, Wachu Simone. We were there, and I was getting ready on the bus because all my friends and I brought our gear onto the bus so we wouldn't miss a precious moment once we got to the mountain. Getting ready, I noticed that I forgot one thing that I usually brought to that mountain. Not every time I snowboarded, but usually I had it there, and that was my helmet. I didn't think anything would happen. Nothing ever did, so I would just be careful. We got to the mountain, headed straight for the chairlift, and then on the ride up, we noticed that it was very icy, and because it had been raining. People were wiping out everywhere. Needless to say, though, it wasn't our first time on a snowboard. We knew what we were doing. So actually, on the chairlift going up, it went right over the terrain park, and I was like, oh, that's it. That's what I'm doing. I'm hitting the biggest jump in the terrain park. That was my motivation right there as soon as I saw it. So I got to the top, buckled into my snowboard, took a breath of that crisp winter air, and confidently charged towards that jump with all my speed. And going into the jump, I caught the edge of my snowboard on the snow, and that kind of threw me off balance. That was the last thing that I remember. I was told that I landed on my head and I wasn't wearing a helmet. I was also told, and this is several things that I learned after the fact, that my goggles were the only protection that my head had. So I didn't have a helmet on, but the goggles that I had protected me and braced my fall every time I hit the site because I kept rolling and kept hitting.
Wow.
So they would move into place, I guess you could say incidentally or coincidentally or not so coincidentally, depending on what you believe. There were several things, that being one of them, that broke right for me that day, and the reason why I'm standing here. The other one of the other ones, was there was probably 6 to 8 paramedics in the area, ENT staff, and there was only one of them that could intubate on the spot, and I needed that to be able to breathe.
Oh.
He was one of the paramedics that showed up to the mountain that day. Then the third thing, I got to the hospital and I was in the intensive care unit in a coma, unable to communicate with anyone. And each time the doctors would come into my room in the intensive care unit to share updates, and at least early on, Joshua, it was more negative and more negative and more negative because they had to, as doctors, set the expectation, of course, and for liability reasons and everything. And my parents, I was very fortunate. They didn't allow them to share that information in front of me because they understood that even though I was in a coma, that I was still taking information. Yeah. So they made them step outside the room. And when they got outside the room, that's when they told my parents that, look, even if he comes out of his coma, he's probably not going to be able to walk, talk, or eat on his own again. This is something that I say I was fortunate that my parents made them step outside, because them doing that and taking this action allowed me to just treat it like any other situation. So as soon as I was aware of my surroundings and the work that was left in front of me, I got up, did the best that I could, and I kept getting better every day. And I really think that support was instrumental in laying the foundation for the rest of my recovery. Now, I didn't realize that at the time. However, I utilized a system to not only make a full recovery, but run out of the hospital. And that's a STEP system. So STEP is an acronym: support, trust, energy, and persistence. Like I said, support is so important. You have to make sure that you have the support of your family and friends right at the beginning. I'll just give you like a 10,000-foot view, and then if anyone's interested, I can let them know where to go and download the free ebook STEP, which details the whole thing. But you got to make sure that you have the support of your family and friends right from the beginning. This frees up so much of your mental energy, Joshua, to focus on accomplishing your objective. And then T in STEP is trust. You have to trust that once you take your first step, your next step will always be available to you as long as you trust it, follow it. And it also goes back to, you got to trust that calling that you have inside of yourself, and that voice in the back of your head, some call it your conscience. You have to trust that. Like just for an example, when I was after my accident and when I was during my recovery, my parents said, this even before I could talk, okay, we're gonna make sure Nick has a full recovery and he's able to walk out of the hospital. I heard in the back of my head that, no, you're going to run out. And that became our common goal for me to run out of the hospital. E is energy. You have to make sure that you have your energy. So maintaining your energy enables your body to really heal itself and be available and be the best that you can for other people. If you don't have your energy, how can you expect to get better yourself? Not only that, but help other people accomplish their goals.
Yep.
P is persistence. Every day, get up. Every day that you get up, just keep getting up every day and taking that next step, no matter how small. So by continuing to move forward, you are building an unstoppable momentum. And that was a system that I used unknowingly to run out of the hospital. So I want to take a deep breath there and just allow us to have a conversation here. So it's not just me talking the whole time, Joshua.
No, I'm loving it. So, I mean, you're doing a great job so far, and just following your story along here. So how long were you in the hospital in total?
So I was in a coma in the ICU for 3 weeks. I was in a coma for 3 weeks. I don't remember a month. However, after that month went by, I first started having my memories of the hospital. And originally I was transported to the 3rd floor, which was reserved for the most critical of cases. And it's hazy, if anything. I hardly have any memory of the 3rd floor because they were in the process of taking me off of all the drugs and medication from a partially induced coma. So I still had a long road to go. I was in a coma partially induced because they were afraid that from the impact alone, I was out, they said, for 7 or 10 days just from the impact. My head was swollen, and as you can imagine, from that impact without a helmet. And they were afraid that when I woke up from that, I would panic and worry about where am I? Who are you people? What happened? And then the swelling, which there already was swelling in my brain, would increase and I would die. So they had to induce me into a coma.
Wow. That's amazing. And so, all right, so you've gone through this horrific snowboard accident. You've come out the other side. You've without even knowing it, created a system in order to get there, right? You're running out of the hospital. What happens next? I mean, like, how do you start your life back over again? What age are you at this point? Like, how does that look?
Sure. So I was 14 when I got into the accident. So I was in 8th grade. Because of all the time that I missed in school, about 3 months, a little less than 3 months of time, I had to get tutored. I would go into school because they were still in session, but then I would have to meet with my tutor during the day to help get me caught up. I was able to, I'll just take you through a day, like a standard day for me after I got home from the hospital. I would get up in the morning and then I would go to school for probably that 9 to 11 window. And then I would have lunch with my classmates, and I love that because that was the best part of my day. And then my mom would come and pick me up, and I would go to outpatient therapy. So I still had to go to outpatient therapy for another 6 months, along with being tutored all summer long in order to continue on to high school with the rest of my classmates.
Wow.
And really, looking back on it, it's a little surreal that only 18 months after finishing outpatient rehab, I was knocking on the doors of distressed sellers that have received a notice of default letter from the bank. In other words, pre-foreclosure. All pre-foreclosure means is that they're behind on their payments. They've missed several payments, or really this was back in 2005 and 2006. So really, some people even missed 10 to 12 payments and the bank still hadn't foreclosed. So I would go out and knock on their door, and I really wasn't seeing success in the beginning. So they didn't tell me how to do it. They just gave me a script and where I could go find these notice of default doors. And this is my dad. When I say they,
okay.
He had a
real estate. Before we get deep into this, I'm still, so you're 14, you're 14, 15, probably. You're getting out of the hospital, you're tutoring, you're getting out of high school. And then was it your dad that introduced you to real estate and started to go that direction?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
so
got it.
I started after, and I may have jumped too fast there, but for maybe the listeners, but my dad, I was always involved in real estate. So I grew up in a family real estate business. So my dad was a builder when I was young. Then he was a realtor and an investor, and really a realtor and investor all the way through my life in one fashion or the other. So I was always around real estate, and I never really wanted to do it until I reached about 15, right after my accident. I started reading books in his library. And the first book that got me interested was Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. And that kind of started the fire going. And I came to him and I asked him, I said, how can I help? How can I get involved? And he, at that time, was starting the process of having bird dogs go and knock on the doors of these notice to default doors. So that's how I started. That's how I got involved.
Nice. That's so cool.
Yeah. And then, so if you fast forward a little bit, after doing that, and I started out and I really wasn't having success. And I would just approach people and they gave me a script. But then my cousin and I flew out to California to shadow the number one person in the country. His name was Colin at the time, that was having success with these notice to default doors. And once I saw his technique, and there was such a nuanced approach to it and how different it was from mine, I immediately changed my approach and I started seeing success. So I did that all throughout high school, and then I graduated and started studying to get my real estate license. And I was a full-time realtor for 6 years, and then started helping my dad, Chris, with all the properties that he was getting on terms. So buying non-conventionally without signing personally for bank loans or putting big down payments down. And then he was getting all these properties. He needed help with the marketing of those properties. And I was reluctant at first, Joshua. I was like, no. I got my own thing going on here. I'm a realtor. I'm helping people buy and sell. I'm successful at it. And luckily he asked me a few times, because the marketing turned into, all right, now what are we going to do with all these buyers calling? And then that turned into working with the buyers. And then over the years, I've developed a buyer process, a very particular process that you have to bring a rent-own buyer through so that they will get to the end of their rent-own agreement and they're going to be able to get their own loan.
That's awesome. That's really cool, dude. So you've gone into then real estate and getting into these systems now. How have you noticed, or I don't know exactly how this will lay out, but how do you notice that your trauma has empowered you through this? You know, has it been something that has been kind of the foundation? I know it happened when you were young, of course, but I mean, have you gone back there to find, you know, this limitless potential that you talk about? Is it something that you go back and pull from, or is it something that you felt held you back? How did you feel that trauma played into your overall story so far?
Great question. So I don't usually even talk about this, and this is why it's a good dialogue that we're having back and forth, and nothing's planned, as you can see. When I was a realtor, I had a coach who I was basically hiding my story and not telling people what happened to me. Not telling people what happened to me, and just being, oh, I do a good job and they should only help me or they should only want to work with me because I'm a good realtor and I can help them accomplish their goals and everything. Once he told me that, it was really like a water, like a faucet opened. Because once I was able to tell people, it was no longer about what I could, like X, Y, and Z, what I could help them do. It was, oh my gosh, this happened to me. And they could really relate to me. And really the walls came down, and then it was easier. It became easier to help them. So really it's very interesting. And then if you fast forward a few years after that, I launched Common Goal, which is the company that I relate to and lead people who are going through a trauma, life challenge, or crisis, help lead them through the other side using the STEP system. And that's where the limitless potential lies. So I think that's what you were asking about, right?
It was. Now, so if I was a person listening and I had gone through a physical trauma and accident, somehow was debilitated like you were, or even partially more, whatever, like in my life.
Yeah.
what are some things that you would take me through? You don't have to give away the secret sauce, of course, but the point is, like, what would you do? How would the process look in order to bring somebody through and have that trauma become their, the source of their limitless potential?
So here's the thing. There's no there is no secret sauce. By the way, I share willingly with anyone that's going through this, and that's why I actually give away my STEP system, the ebook STEP, on my website, and any of your listeners can go and download that for free. That's just my website, nickprefontaine.com/STEP, and really it's about applying the STEP system to their situation and their lives. Because once you put anything, any kind of experience into that framework, it's able to help you through it, help you see through the other side. And once you get through, that's where your limitless potential lies. So I have for the people that I work with, I have the STEP system, the STEP, the ebook, excuse me. So they go through that, and then that helps them better identify what their next steps are. And then if they want more with how they can apply the STEP system for their lives, I also have a video program, the STEP video series, which is only $17, but it really helps them. You got to do the work. Like, it's not just you pay $17 and then all your problems will be solved. You pay the $17 and you get live for each letter. You get videos of support, trust, energy, and persistence that helps you identify your support, trust, energy, and persistence. And then coaching emails, additional coaching videos, and coaching workbooks. So I'm really just trying to help the most amount of people that I can out there, because I really feel that there's a need for it. No one's doing that. And all throughout my life, I've always, like, hands down, whenever someone has a trauma or an accident or anything, everyone's always like, oh, you gotta talk to Nick. And I always naturally gravitate towards those people. And I've done it for years. I've unconsciously shared my STEP system with them to help them through their trauma and get through to the other side and thrive with the rest of their lives. I've done it for free my whole life. And now working with my mentor the past few years has really helped me articulate it and broke it down into a system that's support, trust, energy, and persistence. And also start my company, Common Goal, which we help people through their challenges.
I love that, dude. And I love that you've taken something that could have completely stopped somebody and said, you know what? No, I'm going to actually give this away. What I've learned to create the process, let's see how many people we can possibly help. And instead of being like, that's $10,000 to get in, you're like, dude, it's $17. And I got a bunch of free stuff, because it's more about the service of it all, right, than it is anything else. And giving the gift that God's given to you and to be able to give it away. And that's really cool. I appreciate that. So if people are out there are dealing with traumas or have had those traumas in their life, what are 3 things they could be doing now? Maybe it's a part of the STEP system, maybe it's something totally different, but what are 3 things they could be doing now to become empowered from that trauma and not have it something that defines them or holds them back?
So I would say I look at everything, literally my entire life. Like whenever I'm approaching a new challenge or anything, since we developed the STEP system a few years ago, I really see everything. I see life through that lens. Uh-huh. So I would say if anyone's going through a trauma or is recently going through a trauma, first identify your support. So make sure you have the support of your family and friends. Like I talked about earlier, it frees up so much of your mental energy. And the reason you want to do this is you don't want to be focusing on, well, I wonder what their motives are, why they're here, why they're helping me. If you really get everyone, and it doesn't have to be a team of 20 people, but if you get a few people on your side initially, just a few people that are committed to you, that's why I usually stick to tight family and friends. Then that allows you to focus all of your energy on what you have to do every day and just keep getting up every day and taking your next step. That's 100% what it's about. If you're asking for 3, I would break this down by trust. So you got to trust. I know it's easier said than done. When you're going through it, you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to follow the advice of this doctor or of this therapist. But at that point, you don't really have a choice. You have to trust every day that they're giving you the right information. And they're in it for you to make that full recovery. And that's why it's important to share your common goal with everyone that you're working with. Doctors, therapists, nurses, that's what I did when I was going through my experience. And then finally, I would say persistence. So you just, after you line them up in that order, so you get your support, you get your trust, as long as you have those 2 accomplished, you just keep getting up every day and taking your next step. That's the P of the step system, the persistence. But I think as long as you get your foundation established early on, there's really nothing that can stop you.
Well, that's true. I love that. And persistence is the key to just about everything, right? Because whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right.
You're right.
Ford said it best, right? So now it's a matter of taking a look at your life and saying, what can I be more persistent at? Maybe it's a matter of if you want to grow a business or you want a relationship in your life or whatever it might be. How can I persistently work each and every day toward that goal? Right? Because it's not something, oftentimes you see stuff in movies where, the guy was, living in a box and a week later he's got a mansion, like this big, massive shift in no time, which doesn't really ever happen. It's usually years and years and years of hidden struggle that gets you from where you were to where you want to go, right? But to your point earlier is having a clear idea of where that might be. Saying it out loud, say, this is where I want to go. This is my destination. And now we've got to work persistently each and every day to get to that point. It can be that way in business. It can be that way in life. If you want to buy a certain house or you want to do a certain thing, to have that persistence each and every day. I call it the 2 millimeter principle, where each and every day we work to get just 2 millimeters better, further, in 4 main categories, which is faith, family, fitness, and finance. Those 4 in that order, to work each and every day, just 2 millimeters of growth. And over time, like snow, it accumulates. And eventually you're sitting on top of something that is so much more than what you started 365 days earlier. And that's the thing, because the human soul wants progress. The human soul wants growth. The human soul wants to keep moving forward. And no matter what the trauma is, you've already proven that even when doctors said you're never going to walk, you're never going to talk, you may not wake up, you've now proven them wrong. And you said, well, yeah, because I wasn't told that story, I've created a different story. And now here's how we're going to do it. And not just that, then you're going to come out and thrive in real estate. And, tell me more about, what real estate looks like for you now and how you've gone from, a coma into this situation now where I imagine you're doing pretty well with that. How's that working out?
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of things that were bubbling up. I didn't know how long we would, because I tend to get going and I just go and share my story. I didn't realize I'd have the time to share this. My parents had affirmations all over my room.
Nice.
So even when I first got in the coma, once I came out of the coma, they were the only thing I could see. And it wasn't like I could get up and walk out of my room. So everywhere I looked, with each day, I'm getting stronger and stronger. Like literally everywhere I looked, I saw it and I couldn't get away from it. So that was one of the things that my parents did early on.
I'm going to pause you there for a second, Nick. It's kind of funny because I just got off, I shoot podcasts in blocks, so a couple of them at a time with different people. And this morning I was on with a gentleman who was talking exactly about affirmations. And he's like, first of all, just write down affirmations. And if you see them coming up as negative, like I'm not a great dad or something like that, strike that out and say, I am a great dad. And, because the 2 most powerful words in the human language is I am. And whatever you fill in that blank with afterward is what you become, right? So with that being the case, he had that and he said, all right, now if you want to go one step further, he says, actually go through and put your voice memo open on your phone and speak them alive, right? make them real that way. So I love that your parents are putting affirmations around the house, because you look at that and you start, whatever you see around you, you start believing is true. And especially in that kind of a traumatic experience, to come out and you could just go into the negative and say, oh man, I'm going to be, whatever, messed up forever, maybe never walk or whatever. But when you're saying I'm going to run out of that hospital, and you have these affirmations all over the place, I imagine that made a big impact in your recovery.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm very fortunate. I mean, I'm very fortunate to have the family and have my parents, all the support that I had. I'm very fortunate of that. I've also heard, when I've said that, people said, yeah, but you're the one who had to get up and do the work like every day. But there is some truth in that. Yeah, I understand that. But my support network was second to none. I'm really blessed by that. So,
makes a big difference for sure.
Yeah. Not to evade your question. You asked me what we have going on in real estate right now. Well, it used to be, so this is interesting, because back when I first started getting involved, and I got involved in end of 2014 and into 2015 with helping my dad with the marketing of the properties, then working with all the buyers. And when I first did that, it was really my income as a realtor was up here. And with him, I was making, it was like 10 or 20% of my income. And over the next year, that shifted where it just didn't make sense for me to keep my license anymore. It really didn't make sense. And almost like you double down and you work with what you have. And I kept seeing this same theme come up. We would have buyers that would get to the end of their agreement and they would have trouble. So that's the whole reason that I developed the buyer process, because there's like a very particular process that we have to put the buyer through. Like they have to do a down payment. We do heavy pre-qualifying up front to make sure that, yes, in fact, they can be successful and they can afford the home. And because we do those key elements up front and we fully understand it, we're getting to the end of our rent-to-own agreements, just to give you some percentages. So we're seeing probably 80 to 90% of our rent-to-own buyers be able to qualify for their own loan when they get to the end, nice. Where the industry average is actually opposite of that. Only 10 or 20% of most investors, buyers are being able to get their own loan. And there are gurus and teachers who teach it from stage and says, if they can't buy it or they default, have a party. It's good. Do it again. Get them out and take another down payment. Yeah. So we really have an altruistic view, I guess you could say, of wanting to have our buyers succeed. And then we succeed, the buyers succeed, and the seller that we do the deal with, however we buy the home, subject to with owner financing or a lease to own, a rent to own agreement, they're able to cash out and 100% move on with their life. It started out when I started helping my dad with all of our properties. We had pre-COVID, just to give you an idea, we had anywhere from 50 to 60 properties. Literally, it has shifted. Now we're down our personal inventory, like our family business, we're down to probably 13 or 14, where now my time is not spent in working with our buyers. It's spent working with our associates buyers and our associates that we have all over the country to basically replicate the same business that we have here locally in the New England area and have them be able to help buyers and sellers themselves.
Got it. No, that sounds good. And I love that you're tracking in a better, more, let's just say, tenant-friendly way, because a lot of the rent to own stuff is they know they're not going to eventually get it. So they don't really pre-qualify. They're just like, all right, this sounds like a good idea for you. Let's do the rent to own agreement. They get excited. In a few years, they fall off, and then they just grab it and do it again and over and keep rinse and repeat. Where I love that you guys are more focused on making sure through better screening and all that and pre-qualifying, that they're actually going to be ready for it so that they can realize the dream of home ownership over time. So I applaud you for that. That's really nice to do for the community in general. I know a lot of listeners out there might be thinking like they've probably heard before where, real estate's a great way to invest. And, but I know a lot of us, including myself in the very beginning, was like, where the hell am I going to get the money to start that? Like, how am I even going to get close to investing in real estate? I love the idea of having, cash coming in and mailbox money, right? Every month, money coming in. But how do you even get started with that? And, I share the adage in the way that we got into it was that, each project, each year, each month, however you're breaking it up, you put like 10% of your profits away. You keep putting money away, squirrel it away. And eventually, just like the 2mm principle, you'll have some money sitting there enough to get started in the game. And the nice part is that that's your ticket out of owning your job, because most people in business own their jobs. So if you can put money away each month, each year, 10% is a target, maybe more, maybe a little less, something, and start investing that in assets like real estate. Real estate gives you potential cash flow depending on how you set it up. It also will give you the opportunity to depreciate and get better tax incentives that way. Plus the asset, the real estate itself, hopefully, if you bought it right, will appreciate and become more, worth more each and every year. So that keeps up with inflation and all those things. So there's so many benefits to it. Plus then you get the opportunity to serve other people by creating, great housing for them. So there's so many benefits to it. The government has a tax code lined up very well for this. But oftentimes it's, well, yeah, that sounds great, Joshua. Do real estate. People talk about real estate, but how the hell does it impact me? Well, it can, because I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad 20 some years ago, from Robert Kiyosaki. And it really started opening up that idea in my head. Like, wait a minute here. So what would it be like if we got enough money each month to pay our bills coming through the mailbox because we made a couple of good choices over a period of time? And kind of going in that direction, what would that look like? And so, I'm a nonstop curious guy. So I said, let's try it. Let's do it. And, we got through it and did great with it. But it's because we started saving in order to be able to do it, and then realized that we could use other people's money to do it, and all that shifted too. But I just love that you're doing stuff for people when they're at their own space, because there's so many who want to own a home but don't have the monies down to do so. And this gives them that opportunity. And I love that you're keeping that center of the playing field here, not just how can we take advantage of these people and make sure they don't actually get where they want to go, and just make sure we do.
Yeah, we're giving them every opportunity to succeed. And something I mentioned earlier about going through a trauma or life challenge, like I offered the STEP system for free and the STEP video course for only $17. Same thing with our rent to own program and the buyers that we work with. Like, we have the path. We have the proven path that you have to go on to be able to, over the course of two to 3 years, and actually a lot of the time it's a lot less, we have that path set up and we know what you need to do to be able to be successful and get your own loan. However, we're not going to do the work for you. So you have to do the work.
Yeah.
100% on that.
Yeah, it kind of stinks, right? Most people are looking for a fast, quick way to do stuff. And guys, I hate to tell you that if you want anything that's going to last, you're going to have to roll up your sleeves and get the work. That's always what it is. And oftentimes we've had people on the podcast, and one of them quotes it as the dark journey, the work that you got to do when no one's watching in order to get to where you want to go. And that's the kind of stuff you either sign up for if you want to be successful, or don't sign up for if you don't want to get successful, and just go play the lottery and see if that works out for you. The reality is, if you want to have any opportunity for this kind of financial freedom, or the opportunity to own through a rent to own model, you're going to have to just get out there and get the work done. Or if you want to go through a program like this and grow, it's going to take the work. There's no one's has it. They might have it set up in a step-by-step process, but the process needs to be executed, and that's on you. That's the way the world works. There's no free meals here. You got to work for it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we feel that there's too many people out there teaching and training that it is easy. It is they buy it and flick a switch and money starts coming in their bank account. Or alternatively, they're like, yeah, who cares if they fail and they're not able to, just kick them out and do it again. It doesn't sit right with us.
Yeah.
That's why we want everyone to be successful. And we have testimonials for days from our rent-to-own buyers, just that they're so happy in their home that we were able to give them a path towards home ownership.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. So if people are listening and they're interested in the rent-to-own model or in your books, your free books, or any of your courses, how do they find you?
Yeah, I knew I told you for a reason, Josh. Joshua, the free book, yeah, we do have a free book for all of your listeners. If they go to wickedsmartbooks.com/Joshua3, they can get a copy of the new rules of real estate investing. And I'm a co-author on that. It's my dad, my brother-in-law, Zach, and myself. And we'll get that out free to them, 100% free. When I say free, like when they opt in, we don't ask them for a credit card for shipping or anything. We'll send it out 100% free for them. And then also, if there's anything that I mentioned about real estate that does pique anyone's interest, the whole buying and selling on terms, they can go to our website, smartrealestatecoach.com. And if you scroll down a little bit, you can get registered for a free master's class. And in it, you're going to be able to learn all about our trademarked 3 payday system, how we get paid up to 3 times on a deal instead of just once, where like if you're a realtor or wholesaler, sell a house, make some money, sell a house, make some money. You can get paid up to 3 times on a deal. Once you get signed up for that masterclass, you're also going to learn how we buy and sell on terms. I was only able to cover just a fraction of the detail, but you'll be able to learn all about that. And if by the end, it does interest you, you'll be able to make a decision at the end to take the next step. It's not a good fit for everyone, and we get that. Not promising to be everything to everyone. But if it makes sense for you, you'll be able to take action at the end.
Cool. Well, I certainly appreciate you, Nick, coming on and sharing your story and sharing what you're up to and how you've turned that trauma into limitless potential now with family business and real estate. And, you've had quite the ride so far. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, I had a blast, Joshua. Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So guys out there listening, you can go to what he mentioned and get his free stuff, take a look, see if it fits you. And if so, get started with it. It could completely change the direction of your life. So guys, until next week, signing out.